Hi guys. So if you see, yesterday we basically discussed regarding containers, right? So if you see containers, so we basically discussed what is the difference between a container and a virtual machine, why containers are becoming popular, what's the main, let's say, technical difference in terms of utilization of virtual machines in comparison with containers, and yeah, that's all we have discussed. Then we discussed about Docker Hub. What is Docker Hub, or what is a registry in terms of a Docker? So we gone with a bit of Docker basics. So we discussed about basics such as running a small image which is already there available inside the Docker Hub. What is called a Docker pull. So Docker pull is nothing but downloading the image from Docker Hub. And then we also discussed about how to maintain Docker images. So so if you want to check the number of
Hello. I have doubt. I'm Rohit.
hi Rohit.
Yeah, I have the Jenkins is not installing on my system actually.
Jenkins is not getting installed. That's a really vague requirement. What exactly is happening with respect to Docker? Sorry, with respect to your vagrant?
The local host, it's not
Mm-hmm.
showing the IP address or something. It's not refreshing to get the web page actually.
Why would you get refresh? Okay. Why don't you actually screen share or give me remote control? I'll look into it, let you know. Will that be fine? You're Rohit, right?
Yeah.
So Rohit, I'm actually making you. I will request you to give the remote control.
But I'll share the screen after the class actually. If the class get over.
After the class, fine, no problem with me. I will save away 5 minutes for you. Will that be fine? Okay. So coming to it, we discussed about Docker PS. What is called Docker PS? If you want to see the Docker processes that are running, you just need to do Docker PS, and you see what are the current processes that are running. And you want to see all the processes that have been already ran. So Docker ps-a. And then if you want to see your list of images that you already have in your Docker system, you have to check Docker images.
I tried the command docker ps, but it is giving me some error. Access denied.
You have to use sudo docker ps. I believe you
Oh,
didn't use. Did you use this one? Which one?
no, I didn't use that one.
Did you use this one?
No, I did not use that one.
You have to.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay. So the sudo user mod, that means you're changing or adding another extra group to
Okay,
your Docker group.
okay, I will
Your
try
web-
that.
your Docker. Okay. Good. Now Docker PS. I'm sorry. Will give you mostly the current working containers. Docker PA minus FNA will of course give you all the list of. I just deleted everything. So you have to understand that if you have a lot of stopped processes, then you don't really want them to run. Okay, Docker ps-a will give you all the list. And then often Q. Let me give you an example. Why not? Docker run hello world. Okay, if you just Docker PS, there's nothing but Docker PS, all the list. Now when you say Docker PS FMQ, only the first ID. Okay, now you want to delete the whole list. Docker remove, and then dollar of, it means the value of, so you would be putting the output of this command as input for this command. Okay, so you can just type docker ps -a -q, but I'm just telling you, if you are running a container, never do this, because even that container gets deleted. Okay, so if I just do that, you see, there is nothing anymore. So this particular container is deleted. Is that clear?
Why do you use a -a to list all the containers?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Now let's move forward. See, until now you'll just learn the basics of Docker. Okay, you know what is Docker, why Docker, it's you also need to a bit of understanding on C group, but that is mostly required at advanced level. But you have to understand the manage C groups and namespaces are what Docker actually utilizes in Linux kernel to create containers. Just remember this for your interview sake. Okay, C groups and namespaces. Okay, C groups and namespaces are the both different type of Linux features which are used by Docker to actually create and manage Docker containers on a Linux system. Okay, is that clear? Now let's move forward. See, how do you said Docker? I'm saying Docker. We build Dockers, we build containers, but how do you build it? So, and what is the main thing that you have to know if you are actually building something? The first and foremost you need to understand with the Docker is the image. So what is an image? So if you understand, have you ever, I mean, if you actually become if you try to create or install a Windows version or a Linux into any hardware by using your CD or bootable USB, then you will are actually required to have an image of your operating system. So simple question, how many of you guys, after you both, how many of you actually try to install a Windows system or maybe Linux system in your laptop? None? Both of you didn't?
Directly on laptop or on virtual box?
Direct, even the virtual box also works, right? How do you
Yeah.
create a virtual box? You
We
need an
create an image or virtual image.
yeah, the virtual image is nothing but a snapshot of your complete operating system, right?
Yeah.
That's also the same requirement here. You also require a snapshot of your whole Docker container as an image. So everything will be cooked inside this image. That means you make a pasta or maybe a pizza, but you actually cool it down to zero temperature. Okay, and that kind of a status is nothing but Docker image. So whenever you want to eat it, you just oven or heat it, and the pasta is the pizza is ready with few minutes. Same, whenever you want to utilize or create a container, you just utilize this image. You just Docker, you run this image, and then automatically all the services that are listed in this particular image will be created in the container. So that is what you need to understand. It's like a freeze state, and this is required. The snapshot of your whole operating system is required to create or to run this particular operating system. Now, okay, a lot of talk on image now. That's good. Now, how do you actually run this image? It's very simple. The same command, docker run, just like docker run hello world. So I'm actually picking up hello world image and I'm running it, and I'm getting output that, hey, you want to try something, you want to work with something else, you can also use this one, docker run even interactive mode tty terminal. Okay, and then ubuntu. I want to run what? Ubuntu, but in interactive mode. And what is my first program I want to run is bash. When you type enter, then automatically you are inside this container. You're not anymore at your guest system. You are already on your nested get system, which is nothing but docker container. Now you are inside this particular container. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to, there's no sudo requirement because I'm root, so I just update now. What I do is that I simply install something, maybe Apache 2. So now you see I'm adding 170 MB. It's already 70 MB now. Now I'm adding 170 MB extra. So the image will be at least around 190 to 200 megabytes. India, India. I don't know. Delhi? There's no Delhi. Shit. Sure. I'm failing to locate India. Anybody can help me here?
44 is Kolkata.
What is it? 40. Ah, thank you. You see, now where is Apache 2? You can find Apache 2 is installed. Now, but if you check the service, it's not running because it's a container. It's not a system anymore. So you have to run it manually. Okay, now if you check, it's running. Good, but it is hitting what? This particular private IP. Okay, now I have done something on my image. That means I have written extra on top of my image. Now, what is meant by, you have to, before going further, you need to understand the Docker file system. Docker actually utilizes a typical file system which is called as a layered file system. Okay, so the images and the containers, basically they have a layered structure of file system. So each layer Each layer contains basically some kind of extra component with respect to its previous layer. Okay, so if you want to check any layers, that number of layers that can happen on a particular image, then you have to use Docker image and history of the image. So Docker image history of the image. Okay, now if I exit, then this container will get stopped. We check. Currently there are two. Why there are two? One is for hello world, another is for your Ubuntu. Okay, now I want to know history of Ubuntu. Docker image history of Ubuntu. If you check, Ubuntu actually starts like this. Okay, first it starts with the command. This one, and then it actually indexes the targets with the apt. It runs this particular code, and then it actually makes the required let's say system D type of protocols, and okay, so this is the basic history of this particular image. You can also check history of anything, maybe anything that's already written. So the first action would be this one. The second would be failover. Okay, so this is how you wanna even check the history. Now, the second most important in Docker concepts is nothing but it's about Docker files. What is a Docker file? A file that defines a series of directives and is used to build an image. Okay. What is a Docker file? Basically, Docker file contains a lot of mm, environmental variables, the server. I mean, basically, Docker containers are used on top of the server technology stack. So it is better, okay, in terms of directives, and it is actually has a clear, concise representation. And a Docker file will help you to go through all the construct of your Docker container very easily. Simple. You see Docker file, you check what is inside, you will be able to comprehend what is the system is doing. That's the beauty of Docker file. It's very understandable due to its YAML syntax format. So now let's see. It's not even an YAML syntax format, but it's a domain specific language, but it's pretty much descriptive. Okay. Now I want to work with a particular application to see what exactly happens inside. For now, and later we discuss a lot of things in Docker files. Okay, so Docker, what is happening with the pull? I'm downloading this. I'm downloading this particular image. If you see Docker images now, you have something called space bones. Now, how do you run this? If you check, you have to run. So don't use decapital. It's okay, Docker will pick it up. But just don't do this due to the slight requirement. So you have to type Docker. Since you're running that, you have to type run. Okay, and then you're running this, but are you actually I mean, if you're running this, then it depends on how do you want to maintain it. Okay, so if you run it and you want to just run it only, with the session, then you should not use detached mode. But you want to run Docker container like usual, but you don't want it to stop ever. Then go with a daemon mode or this. I mean, what you call this? This link mode -d. Docker run -d, and you also need to mention what port number you are actually mapping with. So currently I'm mapping with port 80 of my system to the guest system, and then you have to give the image name. So what is my image? And type enter. Clear? Docker run -d detached mode -t. So port mapping 8080 space boson dodge. You see, whenever you use fnd, you will get a short string, but you have to cross check. Docker ps fnd is my container is running. Yes, your container is running. Now if you see the ports, okay, I'm saying 8080, but what 8080? Is it a port of my particular IP address or is a port of the Docker container address? Okay, so if you get this kind of idea, then it's way better. But since the first port -p, the first port, okay, is the port of your host operating system, which is nothing but your Vagrant operating system. Okay, now the second, which is this one, is obviously the port mapping for your container. So always make sure that your port is not open to other services, otherwise this will generate an issue. Now I'm actually already ran this kind of a service. So if you check response, it is up for last 7 seconds. And to make this really very interactive, let me exit my Docker thingy and then okay. Oh damn, I use this file. Okay, it's very hard for me. Okay, if I want concrete, I have to go to node 1. Mostly it should be 1110, but I'll check. Localhost. You see, it's working. Sudo where is Apache 2? Oh, Apache 2 is already there. Sudo service Apache 2. What I'm asking status. Very good. So this is from Docker only. So if you check config, then you take the IP address of this one to check. See, and if you check, it's not actually going. There is no Apache 2. Okay. Now what's going on is I'm using Docker to run this. So let me stop this one. Okay. Docker, yes. Yeah. Docker, stop. Now this shouldn't work. Now are you clear with this one? How I actually ran Apache 2? Okay, I'm running again. Okay, let me check. It's running. Now this should work as well. Okay, now the application is running and it's saying, hey, it's just a GIF. Is that clear? Guys, any doubts still here? Okay, so this is basically a static application. That means there is you won't be having a dynamic data loading, but you will having the UI. So normally current architectures are divided into static UI, which which actually gets connected to a BE engine. Okay, so I think this also comes in the same category. Instead of the complete application, we have a sample dump front end UI. Okay, I hope this is clear before we go forward. Any questions till now? You just need to ask because we are going a bit more advanced in later sections. Let me see what that. So, Amaya, is that clear? Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Rohit, same goes with you.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, Raghu, any questions on the same?
Yeah, no update.
That's good. Let me know if I'm going too fast, okay? Because sometimes I do go too fast. Okay, now if you see your Docker container actually is running. Now you are confident. You know how to pull, how to run, how to manage. Now it's time for us to go to advanced level 2, which is creation of this Docker, images. This is the simplest but shortcut. Okay, so if you remember, okay, let me stop this. Okay, so how do you stop it? You can stop in many different ways. Okay, but I can use this one, the name, random name that it got. You just stopped. Okay, good. Now I think you already remember that I installed something on Ubuntu, right? Apache, basically. Now, we can use this method, but this is not really suggestible. Okay, this is like only when you are in emergency and you can't really have luxury of, writing a file. You can use this, but normally that's not the case. So you can use something called Docker commit and your container ID and image name with a version. So let me just say Docker commit. What is my container ID for Ubuntu, which has the Apache installation happen? Okay, Docker commit. This is the container. This is the container ID. Okay, and then remember this image name and the version. Always make sure that there is no such kind of let's say account exists on your Docker Hub, okay? Because later on part you might feel struggled if you are actually converting to a different namespace and then committing it again. It's another unusual or rather not required headache. So whatever the name you want, if you just cross check, that should be enough. So I have something called as like Abdul 96 / demo, and this is what I want to do. Now I'm committing it. That means what I'm creating a image out of it. I have did it. Now if you check Docker images, there is something called SK Abdul 96 and demo. Okay, how do I run that? Same. How do you run space bones? It's the same. It's not at all different. Check yourself. How do you run the space bones? Okay. Now let me run that. Docker run. Okay. Okay. Now I think I just created an image, right? So I just have to run it. Okay. Docker run. I'll just make it interactive mode. Okay. And then give the name. And then the first program I want to run would be that. I'm inside this. So let me check. Do I have Apache or not? Okay. So there is no sudo requirement. Service Apache 2 status. Apache 2 is not running. Okay. Because I created into a container. Sorry, I created into an image. In image, the running process has to be halted. That's why even if you run up mark anything, okay, you have to run this once you as an embedded script, or you have to utilize a bit of Docker files here. Okay, so now it is clear that Apache 2 is already installed on this, and you just created a image out of it. So this is another important concept. Now let's move forward. Let me just fill this one. Now coming to the Docker directories. If you want to write a Docker file, you have to understand these directives. Okay, but there is a lot to learn when it comes to Docker directives. So I keep an open end to that stake, and I can show you the whole documentation for the Docker file. So let me just go with the Docker. This is really a very good reference. Okay, so you have all the required labels here on this, right? Okay, and you have all the required let's say necessary or theory requirement with respect to Docker files. But I will explain to you in short, concise, so you remember them and you refer them if you have any kind of extra requirements or maybe optional requirements. Okay, so the first and foremost of them all is add. Okay, okay, so let's go to add. Okay, what is basically add does? Add actually is used to copy new files to your Docker containers or Docker directories. Okay, and if you wanted to add new files, this is how it's going to look like. So first of all, let me show you a sample directory. So let me get out of this one. Before we go further, let me just create Docker examples. Okay. I can't create this one. I have to go into Docker van and I have to touch it. Okay. So the first and foremost command will be something. So since we are learning with the hierarchy of add, I'm just trying to show it to you. Okay. So let me just save it. Now I have something called. I just created another directory called payload. So one can keep as much as they require the number of examples whatsoever as a backup into this particular payload directory. Now I want to add this directory in my Docker file. Okay, how do I do that? Very simple, as explained in that. Okay, so you can use like add now the destination directory. I think what we wrote is payload. Okay, where I have to upload, or where should I actually upload this? So this should be existing directory. This shouldn't be idealistic directory, because that time the Docker build will fail. Add payload to which directory? Let's go with the temp. Yeah, shouldn't be a problem. Temp, and that's it. You just added this to your Docker file. Okay. Now, what else we have to discuss? This is the basic. So add actually does what? It adds the complete directory or the file to Docker layered system. It actually helps to actually create immutable infrastructure, but these are the things that is actually really required, okay, to understand deeply to if you want to venture further. Now add, what does add does? Add actually adds your current payload or current working directory to your Docker container. Now then, what about copy? What does copy does? See, copies actually copy this directive copies the files or new directories, okay, from our current source directory and add them to file system. It is pretty much does the same, okay, but then it is interesting question like what is the difference between add and copy. I leave this as a hand task for you. Research what's the main difference between add, okay, and copy. That should do. Now we have something called env. What is env? Env is very important directory. All the workspaces actually have some kind of environmental variables. That's why they maintain different types of workspaces. Now Docker comes with a powerful directives such as environment, and I don't, just give me a second, this one. So environment basically is it sets up the environment for your Docker container with the respective value. So environmental variables are something like it has a key and key pair value. So you give a key, you get a value. Okay. So this can be basically used in a lot of Docker environments. Okay. And then yeah, I think that's all about environment. Nothing much. Now you have something called expose. What is expose does? Can anybody tell me what is expose does? So if you want, you can also read, but let me know what do you think about expose. It's pretty much requirement. Okay. If you really want to work with the containers, then you have to understand. Okay, expose. Okay, I'll take it that I'll explain. Expose basically, uh, is an instruction which actually maps your current container port to outside world, or maybe your host system, or maybe to maybe another adapter in AWS. But expose basically, is used for mapping the port. So this is how it's going to look like. Docker run iPhone port. We give 8080, right? That is kind of an expose because you're actually writing that. Okay. So that's it with expose. So we have checked what is add, what is copy, what is environmental variable, and what is expose. Okay. Now it's time for us to go further and understand what is called from, what is label, what is stop signal, what is user and volume mean. So these are all the markets. Okay, these are all the active directives that you have to use if you are writing a Docker file. Now let's complete others as well for today's class, and tomorrow we're gonna freshly create a complete Docker file from scratch in having it some kind of a code base, okay, which helps us to understand the whole creation of a Docker file and maintenance of a Docker file. Until now you just seen the basics of Docker. Now let's go to from label. From is very interesting one, it's very important. So what actually from does is that if you use from, you have to mention what kind of image base are you going to take it as the main base. So whatever we are doing is like we are cooking after the already uh, the dough for your pizza is already ready, you're cooking on top. That's what we are doing. So you can do that, or you can create from scratch. Maybe you can use Alpine, but you have to use some kind of operating system. So for that, okay, you have to mention it from using the directive called from. So how do you want to mention it? Simple, from image name and the version name. So if you check, let me just go to my Docker file. I'm gonna type from Ubuntu to latest. This means I'm actually building this container on top of Ubuntu. Okay, this has to be retained. Okay, now we have added from. Then what is a label? Okay, labels are basically used for identification. Okay, so a label basically adds some kind of a metadata, okay, to the image. It's basically a key value pair. Okay, and if you want to mention labels, you just need to mention something, okay, with this level of. So label, and give whatever the label you want to the image. Now label is done. That means I'm just labeling the image. Now I have something called stop signal and user volume and working directory. So this is stop signal. Stop signal basically is an instruction set the system calls signal that send a container to exit. So you are running a container for almost a year. You want it to be get terminated. Now you can use this particular stop signal for the termination of this container. So if I do something wrong, I can add it up. But for now, understanding it is main high priority. Okay, and stop signal directive or the instruction, it sets the system, okay, call a signal, okay, that will make the container outcome exit. So here you can also use stop signal if you want to come out of the container. Okay, normally we don't use stop signal, it's not that particular. Now we have something called user and volume. User is mostly we use, so user basically helps us to make sure we give the access to lazy people and doing lazy work. So you just need to mention user and then type the name of it, but you're not going to create a username, but you're just going to label with the username. Now wait, I think I just have to check what is this last one. Working directory, obviously it should be somewhere here. Working directory, which actually, yeah, user is also here. So user. Now, okay, if you want to, okay, I think from run user Patrick. Okay, user you have to use with a combination of a run. So if you want to create a user on your Docker container, which actually utilizes a service, then you can use this. So this is a very good, example. Just run name of the user. We call that net user, whatever. Okay, and then you can mention a new username. This actually wait a second. So if you see now from label run user add, now we have something called working directory. What is working directory? So actually I want to create another so before going for with the run, I want to explain run. Okay, yes, what is run? Run is basically utilized to run a shell command. Remember this, that's it. So if you see run here, okay, it's saying that net user, okay, slash add Patrick. So it's saying that, hey, add a new user called Patrick, and he's defining that from now on the user would be Patrick. Okay, now run is clear, and also working directory. Working directory already is the current working directory where everything your whole application is actually stays. So you will have a working directory in your Docker container as well, right? So if you are actually installing the whole application there, you need to have a working directory. That would be set by this particular command. So work directory, normally I do something like work directory and then slash app. That's what I do. Okay, that's good. Now on build. Okay, on build is rarely in usage. Okay, but this is a sweet directive or instruction which adds to image a trigger instruction to be executed. So okay, so this is like it's like a trigger which has to be executed a bit later part. So when you have multiple builds with a lot of pipelines, then this comes into play. Okay, so I have the reference here as well. You can definitely look into it and get back to me by tomorrow if you don't understand any kind of directives. Okay, so that's all for today. I think someone has issue, right? Who? Rohit, right?
Yeah, I tried
Rohit?
to solve it and I went through Google actually.
Mm-hmm.
It says that my IP address was something like 10.x.x.x,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't get my IP to 192 dot something like that. So I
Okay,
went through the Google and I solved it right now actually.
okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Great job then. Okay,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
good work, Rohit. Okay, let's catch up tomorrow then. Okay, bye bye. I
Yeah,
think
Abdul, Raghu here.
today is Friday, right? So there is no class tomorrow and after tomorrow, directly on Monday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Abdul.
Yeah, Raghu, tell me.
Yeah, Abdul. Shall I call to your mobile number to discuss something regarding this?
Regarding what?
I need to discuss personally, so that's why.
No, you can give a call, not a problem. Do you need my number?
Yeah, yeah, I will
Uh,
give a call right now.
you have right in the
Yeah,
okay?
I think your number is in WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can give me a call to that. Okay?
Yeah,
Perfect.
okay. Yeah,
Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.
yeah. Thank you. Great.